Hi, everyone. And hello, everyone at BrickCon Virtual. We are happy to have you here to have a little bit of a master chat. We are here with the cast of Season 3 LEGO Masters. I mean, look at this group on the stage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like the first time you've gathered and seen each other since, right? Sure. All together?
Yeah, the biggest collective. Yeah.
For those of you at home when they're not mic'd, they were all saying yes. Forgive us, we do only have 2 mics that we're going to be running back and forth. They're going to be passing furiously. But really quick, we're just going to start from the inside out and let them introduce themselves very quickly. Just say kind of what your teams are and where you're from so we know who you are, your name of your teams, and then we can pass the mic around. So why don't we start with whoever has the mic in the middle. Oh, wait.
Sorry, we're all good.
Just say who you are very quickly so people know who they are.
Austin Willis, Doc Blocks.
Liz Pulio, Massachusetts Moms. You said it wrong.
My name's Steven Yo. There's 2 of us on our team. We're the firefighters.
Fan favorites. Oh, got some hype already. I'm Emily, my partner is Dave, and we are the Canadians.
I'm Erin Laundrie of Massachusetts Moms with Liz. Aziza Sandoval, part 1 of 2 of the Sunshine siblings.
And I'm Eddie Gooden, number 2 of the Sunshine siblings.
Hi everyone, I'm Stacy Roy. This is
Nick.
And what is our official team name?
Influencers.
Oh, okay. We're the influencers, but we're also Canadian.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg from Brendan and Greg, Team Ironman, which I don't think has ever been put on screen yet.
You'll have to wait and see.
I'm Liam from Mom and Son Team.
And I'm Emily.
All right. I'm Christine, also known as Tacos. I'm with Latinas Who Lego. Michelle.
I'm Dave from the Canadian siblings team with my ugly sister over there. And this is my 8th or 9th BrickCon.
You want to go? Go for it. No, you go.
All right. Yeah, how you guys should go. I'm Justin Summer. I'm one of the Block Docs. We're from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Sure you're not the Doc Blocks? Did you get that wrong?
He totally got that wrong.
Hi! I'm the other Steve. I'm the show, not the pony. And I'm with the firefighter team. And I think these guys want me, they're a little nervous up here. We had a little thing that we used to do on set. So you're getting a little behind the scenes stuff here to get us kind of ready for the show. I don't really need this, do I?
For the broadcast.
Oh, God. So I can't do it sitting down. Yeah, you can. All right, Greg, are you ready? Yeah, ready. Ladies and gentlemen of LEGO Masters, this is BrickCon! Are you ready to give them a show? When I say LEGO, you say Masters! LEGO! Masters! LEGO! Masters! LEGO! Masters! And then we calm down and we're done.
So welcome to the panel, everyone. I do have to say, these people did not know each other less than a year ago. So I want to talk about how we got from there to what we just witnessed there, right? So be able to go on a little bit of the journey. So we'll try to go a little bit chronologically, just to kind of your experience. This is potentially future contestants, potentially past contestants. Actually, who here is a past contestant on any version? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got LEGO Masters in the house. And, oh, wait. Who here is a judge on the LEGO Masters? Oh, right here, Robin Saylor of the Lego Masters New Zealand. Correct. So he's watching you. He's going to critique you afterwards, tell you 2 positive things, 2 negative things. So, really quickly, we're not going to be able to get to all of you, but if you have a good story about how you got here, right? I know that some of you, you're talking about the show and the pony. That refers to someone who builds a lot and is hardcore AFL, and the pony is let's make a team that's really cool that will make good TV. Because Lego Masters is about building and good TV, which a lot of people sometimes forget about. So, tell me your show pony stories. How did you get together? I'm going to start with, let's start with Steve. They'll turn it on.
Hello. Oh, that's better. Cool. My name's Steven. We've already gone over that. My partner, Steven, we've known each other through the fire service for about 13 years. We actually met in the lineup at the Lego store. True story. True story. True story. That the typical release they do on the first of the year. They've got the modular buildings. We were both in line for that. We have not done a lot of building together. However, we both know that we had a passion for the hobby. So when the opportunity came to put our name forward as a team, there was just one phone call I had to make, and he was in there right away. I am not known as a shrinking violet. I am not a very quiet person, and I look like the introvert in our team. So you need a person who's got a larger-than-life personality to pair up with.
It helps that I'm larger than life to begin with.
Can you hear that at home when they do asides outside of the mic? I'm just curious. I will look for a thumbs up. Okay, sounds like we do get some room audio, so that's good. Anybody else have some kind of interesting, Avengers moments when you found your teammate? All right, Dave.
Am I on? Oh, I am on. Okay. Yeah. Like I got to know her as a small child. No, but I actually auditioned for this show with my mom, with our mom, I suppose. And they're like, we already got a mom and son team that's really good at this. Do you got anyone else? I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I got my sister. And
Hello? That's not exactly how it went.
anyway, that's not important, Emily. The thing is, like, we're entertaining, the banter, blah, blah, blah. Some of you who've known me for the last few years here at BrickCon, I'm a decent Lego builder. But I actually think the thing that got me onto the show is during our audition, I chugged some maple syrup. That's the whole story. That's why I got on the show.
That's a good lead-in. How many of you came up with your identities, and how many of them were kind of assigned to you by the show? How does that work?
Oh, well, according to Jean Piaget and identity formation theory. Oh, no, okay.
All right, let's get the mic away from Dave. Does anybody have a good story about the progression of maybe we were the college students and we turned into the...
So I was supposed to be on the cop team, and that got changed real fast. And then I tried to be on the circus performers team, and that didn't happen. And then a firefighter called me, and I happened to be one, so that worked out for us.
So a real answer. Anybody got a real answer?
Anybody want to do a real answer? Let's go to the Sunshine
Hey,
siblings.
everybody. Yeah,
Which,
I think.
by the way, big round of applause. They're locals.
Yeah. Well, I think ours is interesting because I think it was a bit of a hybrid. We're from California originally, although we do claim Eastern Washington as home now, just to make that clear. But, it was somewhat in our interview process, just as being ourselves, just kind of going back and forth and talking that, the person we were speaking with was like, you guys just beam. You guys are just pure sunshine, I think is what they said. Yeah. And we're like, well, you're not lying. We are. So we went with it, and it was a pretty easy thing for us to embrace because we are happy people, we're positive people, and we went into this just to say, let's see how in the heck far we can get into this, and just treated it as the grandest adventure that we've ever been on thus far in our lives. And we've been on a few adventures together growing up, but yeah, it was a blast, and so I feel like we came by ours naturally.
And actually, let me add on to that. I want to thank my sister here because I had two partners originally that I was supposed to come on the show with, and both of those fell out. And it was a matter of days before our first interview that I told my sister what was going on, and she jumped at the opportunity to come on with me, and I couldn't have chose a better partner. It was perfect. Perfect.
Talking about that a little bit, you get the call, you're on the show, right? Some of you, who here would consider them a hardcore AFOL of the team? And you have some AFOLs and you have some people who are along for this wonderful ride, right? So you get the call, you've been cast, you're on the show. I assume you have a little bit of time before you fly to wherever you fly to and film. What do you do to prepare? And how is that different as an AFOL, and how is that different as I'm along for the ride, I need to learn some things? How did you guys prepare personally before you started filming?
Oh, blank.
Push-ups? A lot. Running back and forth to the brick pit, back and forth?
Honestly, I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials to try to fill in the gaps of things that weren't my strength, because not knowing what they would throw at us, I wanted to make sure I was pretty well-rounded. And then Liz was reading books, so I was sending her links to YouTube tutorials, which I would watch, then go in my basement and build. And then she was sending me links to books I needed to read, and that's kind of how we each trained at our own house before we flew down.
I actually had a binder. So I am a teacher, and this is how I roll. So when we were like, oh my gosh, this might actually happen, I put together the Master Builder binder of techniques, and a lot of articles came from Brick Nerd, and they had recently, Brick Nerd, woohoo! So they had one about mastering the ball, they had one about, math. Lego math stinks, and we all know it. We all know it. So we had to memorize the Lego math and the snot building techniques. And I knew, the show is Lego acrobatics. It's not what you normally build. Great, I can build the castle, but now you need to float it in water. Okay, or you need to suspend it, or you need to blow it up. So we didn't know what we were going into. So just always prepare for the unexpected. But I think that binder, I had it on the plane. I was on the plane literally going through the binder. Do I remember these techniques, right?
I did the exact opposite. Did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I showed up and went, cool, let's do this.
Now, it's interesting that you prepared that way. A lot of people say that they watch a lot of other versions of the show. I think that works in other countries better than the United States, because the United States show, the North American show with our Canadians, they prefer to do a lot of original challenges that then kind of percolate to other countries. So did watching the show help out at all? Or do you think it would have been better if you'd gone in not knowing anything?
I'll share on that because that's where I started. It's okay, I had already watched some season or I think I had watched all of season 1, and season 2 was kind of on my watch list. I think that really told me, oh, okay, girl, you're going to have to really step up from where you normally build. It showed me the magnitude, even the progression from the challenges given in season 1 to season 2. It helped me to go into it with an expectation that this is going to be harder, as we move forward. And so it wasn't a surprise, when those challenges came, because the bar had been raised every season. And so a shout out to those who came before us, because you really helped us to understand what we were getting into.
And you all of a sudden meet each other backstage for the first time. They turn the smoke on, open the doors, and you walk in. What's going through your mind?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What was that? We'll send a mic that way for that answer. What was that?
Profanity.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's it's actually happening. That's it. That's all I got. It gets real, like right there, like when those open and you walk in, and it's just like, yeah.
Did anybody tear up? Oh, yeah. All right, so we'll see tears on the show.
Oh, yeah. I think you're already seen some of the tears of the show, right? You'll have to wait and see.
So, let's talk a little bit about being on the show. We've seen 2 episodes so far. There may be some spoilers, heads up. There have been 2 episodes aired so far. Everyone wants to know, the biggest question of all, how is the Brick Pit organized?
Well,
Is it organized? Or is it just there for show?
No, okay, non-controversial, boring answer. The Brick Pit is organized well, but it's not organized like your own collection, your palette at home. And so no matter how well it's organized, you're not gonna know where anything is, especially that first day. That first build was, 13 hours to build a spaceship, but also like learn where the heck everything is. And learn what everything is. All on the same day. So like there's 5 million bricks there, but I think there's probably about 3,300 different parts. And Robin, how many parts are in the current palette? 7,000?
No, more than that.
So there's a lot. So we had less than half of the current palette of Lego elements. And so we were thinking, oh, we're gonna have this. But no, you gotta learn what you have to build with. If you like 2x4 brick, you've got basically unlimited 2x4 brick in about 15 different colors. And that looks like Lego, so that's really good.
That was 4x2 block.
What I was going to say is one thing that was really difficult for me was the color palette, because you would want to do, oh, this color's great, but then you don't have it in this type of plate, or you don't have it in this type of brick, and so that was something that, like, after that first episode, you get a little more used to, but that was tough. I thought that was really hard.
And I would throw in there were really some surprises to that too, like some pieces that you just expect to be staples, things you've been used to seeing on the pab wall for years. Like you stumble upon and you're like, oh my gosh, this piece is in here? Like, what am I even gonna do? Like, I don't even know how to work around this. And it really does force a level of creativity that you do not prepare for.
And then the opposite. I'll just add that it's complicated. I don't think I ever figured out where everything was in the Brick Pit, but the group of people that's up here, we would help each other. Like Emily knows, somehow she was always in the Brick Pit when I was, and I'd be like, Emily, where is this piece? And she would like direct me to it, like to actually take me over to the spot. So we all helped each other find what we needed. Yeah, thank you everybody.
She mobbed all of us.
Yeah.
Every season there tends to be a piece that was used the most. I think last year was the ball joints, and the previous season was all about Technic pins, right? Maybe you can't say it, and you're going to say we wait and see. But was there any piece that was more desirable this season?
There was a color, but we can't talk about it.
That is okay. We'll have to wait and see.
But in terms of colors, it's, in the Lego palette as a whole, there are so many different colors. But on the show, they especially have the original Lego primary colors and a handful of different colors other than those in bricks. And a lot of the time you're building with brick. You're, building large, and brick is the fastest for that. So primary colors can look great, but if you have to use them sparingly and just right. So it's definitely tricky to find, what colors out of this small selection of other pieces can I use to kind of balance those primaries and use that entire Brick Pit selection to its fullest extent.
Now, was everything available there on the Brick Pit, or were you able to go to some warehouse and run and say, oh, I need the inverse, negative, not whatever?
No.
Or were you able to say, oh, we need this? And how did you describe that? Did they
If it was
have runners
available,
for you?
If it was available, it was in the Brick Pit. There might have only been a handful, and we could ask for more. But if it was available, it was there. One piece, though, to get to your last question, Dave, that I wish we had more of all the time was that 2 1/3 high by 2 wide, the brickhead snot piece. Brickhead snot, what we just call it on stage. And I could have used about 1,000 more of those every challenge.
I think we ran out of those.
Like day one.
Like the first challenge, the first few hours of the first challenge.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yep.
And I remember
there's
maybe
always
we would find 4 or 5 at a time.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Is that because it makes the math easy for Snot? That
Yes.
piece?
It, like,
Interesting.
I remember hating that piece when it came out, just because it was like, why? We don't need this. We've existed for, what, 85 years building Lego without this? And now, like, that piece has revolutionized Snot building.
Another question, which you may not be able to answer, but was there a piece that you really wanted, but for some reason was not there? Or were you able to ask for something?
So, fun fact, one of those like limiting brick pit things, we can just say from like challenge 1 on, I asked for nets. I wanted nets for everything. I love nets, I love cons, I'm like hardcore and I love net techniques. So day 1, I'm like, brick pit, can you get us nets? And they're like, no. I was like, please? And they're like, no. It's like, please, string? No. So nets were like, what am I gonna do? I have to, because I love all net techniques. So as far as like nets and string, like Spider-Man string, they didn't have any of those, like the web string. But we found some interesting substitutions that you'll have to wait and see.
I would have loved to have some of that classic 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, the hinge plates. You know, like the 3x2 ones that, there's amazing now. I see a lot of nods in the audience. Those have been cool, but no, we only got the current palette.
I'll say the other thing, with a competition, you had to also consider what everyone else is building. So if you wanted to use a certain piece at this color, but 3 other teams are doing it, you're like, okay, now I'll do this color. Oh, you don't have bricks in that.
5 million sounds like a lot of pieces, but if all 3 of you are building in, teal, it's not gonna work out.
Right, yeah. That's why there's a lot of primary, so you see a lot of red. Like that very first challenge, everyone's using red or blue or white, because that's what was the most of, and we knew we had to build big and we knew we had to build fast, so there you have it. Yeah.
Now, the AFOLs here, when there's a con coming up, yeah, we might build 12 hours straight, right? For those of you who maybe are new to the AFOL world, how was it building for that long and that intense? I mean, did you actually build for 12 hours straight?
Yeah. Yeah, go.
The longest I think we actually built straight without like a break was 6 hours. Emily, your face. Yes, I had made that same face every time we went 6 hours as well. Yeah, and then we would have like breaks to eat and use the bathroom for 20 seconds, and you're still mic'd. You can't actually relax. But yeah, it would be like, okay, 12 hours, go. And the clock
Can you talk
starts.
a little bit about what is the psychological impact of that? Of you are there, all of a sudden the room turns red, and you can't see the colors in front of your face. What does that feel like? They just have to figure out where you are.
It was super intense. I mean, as soon as you're in there, they give you the challenge and it starts and you have to be coming up with ideas on the spot. When I build, generally, I like to either take my time and come up with an idea by experimenting, or I'll have an idea and think about it for days sometimes before I actually put pieces together. And there, it's like, if you spend more than an hour coming up with an idea, you're really, making a problem for yourself. You have to be coming up with that idea and then following it through. And the Brickmasters will hold you to that idea. So if halfway through you realize you have to pivot, you have to do something else, that's going to be tricky to explain at the end.
Well, in some episodes, sometimes you have to justify, that pivot, or did you not pivot, or when did you pivot? And so I think having that idea and being able to change, and sometimes Lego is not that hard, is very hard to change halfway through.
So episode 2, we pivoted. We planned an hour, right? We planned a full hour. We had this great power line thing going on. And then this one comes over and says, did you say power lines? And we're like, oh my God, because you're watching at home and you're like, why did they all do the same thing, right? We know, we watched the show. So we pivoted immediately. We were like, we cannot do the same as Nick and Stacy. I do not want to be compared to them.
And it's funny because as you ideate, you're like, oh, this idea. Like, I think Stacy's and I first idea for that challenge was sports. We were like, oh, but everybody loves sports. Everyone's going to do that. Let's pivot. And then nobody did sports, and we did the same thing that everybody else did. So you never know what you're going to end up with.
Why don't you talk a little bit about room awareness? Because it is a competition show. So you're in this gigantic room. Do you watch what other people are doing? Do you strategize? Is there a way to get an advantage over another in that room besides the Lego building talent?
I think for me,
No, go ahead.
for me, I think the awareness was high at the start, and as you move further into the build, it diminishes because you can't continue to be distracted.
I think for me personally, it was the opposite. We'd come up with a plan and we'd kind of roll with it for as long as we could. And about a third of the way in, I would go for a walk and just see what the room was actually doing. Mostly because I like visiting with all these people, not for any other reason. That was kind of. You'll have to wait and see.
He's referring to maybe some.
Crop dusting.
He's referring to, let's say, unspoken ways of getting advantages over your competitors.
Anyway, I would go for a walk, and I would see what the rest of the room was doing, and I would kind of come back and talk to Steve, and Steve and I would have a little get-together, a meeting of the minds. Usually our heads would actually butt together because we take up a lot of space, and we would just, if we needed to adjust something, that was when we had to do it. If you went past that 1/3 mark on any of the challenges that you were part of, you were hooped. There was no way you were going to be able to pivot around what you screwed up on because someone else was doing it. Speak for yourself. The exception that proves the rule.
Pivoting a little bit here ourselves, you brought up Amy and Jamie, which are known into the AFL community. Jamie's been here a couple times. You saw them yesterday. Oh, yeah, I did. I saw a version of them yesterday, yes. My question is, a lot of us haven't ever met them. What are they like in real life?
Okay, I got an answer for that. Or Greg, can I pass it back? No, Yeah, sure I have an answer for everything. There was a lot of silence here. Let's just fill that silence.
I'm excited to hear this.
We barely met Amy and Jamie in real life. We met, like, Brickmaster and Brickmaster. To some of us, it was mom and dad coming to give us a lecture, even though Amy's younger than many of us. So, yeah, we barely got to meet them. They're incredibly nice when they're there on stage. They give you really good feedback. Some of it's hard. Some of it is like praise, like what you're doing great. And then if you are, of course, you're like thinking critically about your own build. You only hear the negative things they say about it. But they do give you good feedback about what you're doing well too.
I always was waiting for their input on it. Like I was trying to make them like come fast to us because it is very important what they are seeing of the build, and when they come and look at your build and you're already like way into it, it's like they say some suggestions. They're like, I wish I did this like sooner. So for me, it was like I hope like they come like first with us. Like you really wanted that input from them because they just like say things that you don't even think about. So for me, it was like when they came, vengan, so they can come to our table. I'm sorry. It was like, okay, we got through. Like we got the Amy and Jamie checked, and then we can keep going. If they don't do that, I was always very wondering, tense, and stressed about it. So for me, it was important that they, their input.
And you don't have to apologize. You're speaking a second language. We hope that they show you singing, speaking in Spanish, anything. I'm looking forward to see it on the show. So.
I was just going to add that both of them were like this, but specifically Jamie, when he would come to your build, and he would just have this excitement. He was so excited to see what we were making, and it was just incredibly genuine. That for me was like the highest praise when he was like, "I really love what you did here," or that kind of deal.
So really quick, I'm, like I said, diehard AFL. I'm in NELUG, which Jamie was a founding member of. And I never met him personally before the show, but of course, everyone loves Jamie. Like he was the success story, he lived the dream. And the first interaction I had with him when he was like, I love what you're doing, I pretty much burst into tears because it was so emotional and you're so nervous. I mean, this is Jamie and Amy, the judges. They can make or break you. And here you are trying and under all this pressure and with all these awesome people who are going through the same thing. And for Jamie to come over and be like, oh, I love this idea. And Amy is a gorgeous gazelle, and I said it in episode 1, and she was so lovely, right? I mean, like so genuine and nice, and we could tell they wanted us to do our best, and they didn't want to prevent us from doing our best. They weren't like, we're gonna judge you hard. We're gonna be like, we want you to be your best, right? And I mean, there's just so much love from them, and I think they felt bad because it was a competition and they couldn't be real with us. They had to have that wall up.
A lot of it was reading between the lines as well. I think after the second time I met them, you would start to put together what they're not saying about your build.
Yeah.
Like Jamie really did come over and geek out about things he would be excited about, and Amy would get really excited if you were using colors that she loved. And if she didn't make a comment on that, you knew that you had to use what she wasn't saying.
That's actually very astute, very astute. Talking about people on set, in this version, in the edit, it is a very Will-focused show. Now, we won't go into that, but I want to know, what is he like on set? He is there a lot of the time with you. You get to know you a little bit. So what's the difference between what you see on TV and what he is like in the room?
He's a comedian on and off screen. That's it, you know.
What you see is what you get with Will. He's genuine, he's 100%, he's fun the whole time. I feel like, I mean, at least for us, I can't speak for everybody, but I think he went out of his way as the host to make us feel comfortable. And yeah, he was a great guy. I love him.
I would say on TV, you see the middle of Will. Will's best stuff is not appropriate for television. And so we got the live show, which is amazing. And then there's also, then you see like the middle Will, and then you see the not funny Will, which is like really genuine, down to earth, cool human being. And that would be, if we ever saw him off stage, which was very rare, he would be that guy. Or if he was sitting on the stairs FaceTiming with his kids while we're trying to build. And he's like this chill, cool dad, which is so distracting.
And I think it varied from table to table. So, you know, I was there with my, at the time, 18-year-old son, so we got more of the dad Will side than the dirty Will side.
We got the dirt ball.
Yep, oh yeah. And of course, Will is a Canadian. The downside of that is he's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Yeah, so he'd come in often, I mean, like, hey, did you guys see that game last night? Austin Matthews scored a great goal. No, Will, we were still here building. You went home early.
All right, so you are building, you're there, you are now like presenting your builds and standing for judgment. I mean, how many prayers were said on that stage that something would stay together? What does it feel like to stand there and like present your work?
It's tough. It's like walking into a room and not knowing what you're going to get at any given time. You think that you've knocked it out of the park, you've put your best foot forward, or you know you did something really dumb and you hope they don't see it. And you're just wishing, hoping, and praying that all they do is look at all the positives and give you a glowing review, and that you are capable of moving on to the next challenge, right? Like, in that first episode's already aired, so we know they were eliminating people right off the hop. There was no guarantee that you were safe at any given time. So you had to make sure everything was ducks in a row and put your best foot forward. And if they saw one little thing, you were on a knife's edge of going home.
For me, it was, okay, you're done with your build, you have to present it, and when you're when you're a fan of the show and you don't know what's going on, you think, oh, maybe they practice, or they have the time to come up with their stories, and it's no. Like, after you're done, you're gonna go up, and you have this time to tell your story, and there's no more takes. It's like, what you say, it's, you know, we don't get more takes to retell our story. So I would be so stressed because I was just like, quiero hablar en español. I was like, I just, no puedo, and there, just put subtitles on me, please. You know, and it's just like, I come there, and like, I have all these cameras on me, and then I suddenly have to not forget English. And it was very stressful. But once you're done, it's like when you're done with a test or something, like, you get to relax. I honestly did not get to listen to all of the stories because you're so into like your own story that you're gonna tell. So I really enjoy watching the episodes that have been aired because I saw things that I did not listen being in there.
Even after your build.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with that because I had the same situation. The first episode, it's like, okay, now present your build. I'm like, oh damn, I was supposed to like think of, I mean, we had a story, but we didn't have this is how we're gonna tell it. So I'm like, I felt like first episode, we were scrambling. I'm like, so we forgot the name of our build, and we're like, but then after that, I'd sit there and I like was running through it in my head for for the second episode. I'm like, okay, this is what the story is. This is what the story is. So I'm like, I totally get you.
So you not only have to be good builders, but good advertisers too.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. You know, I think my experience was a little different because we start with story. I start with story. You know, as soon as we got what the challenge was, I'm thinking of the story and how it's coming together. And so for me, honestly, this might sound weird, but the judging was the easiest part because we were done, you know, and we put everything into it that we could. There was nothing else to be done. And the fact that we accomplished getting something up there was a win. So I actually, well, not to give too much away, the end of the second one wasn't great for me, but overall it was good.
Really quick. Watch Stacy and Nick present. That's all we're gonna say.
Oh yeah, they're
Okay.
You can tell who's comfy in front of a camera. That's for sure.
Yep. So I remember the very first challenge. We're kind of stumbling over our words, like we made a ukulele, and then they get up there, and it's like, this is our build, and like the feet are poised and the hands are going, and they're throwing it back and forth to each other, and I'm like, oh, we need to learn how to do that. So just saying.
Worthy of mentioning for any aspiring Lego Master contestants out here, story is huge. Huge.
We learned about that.
You definitely need to have a very good idea of how you need to present your build in your story. It becomes extremely important.
When it comes down to judging the challenges, it is sometimes difficult as a viewer because we don't get all the information. We don't know that, it has to be at least 180 studs wide or halfway through. We want you to add another pop of color or something like that. We've seen in episodes in the past, like some of the fashion episodes, where they create this amazing outfit and then halfway through, they were supposed to make an accessory or jewelry that goes with it. But that was never shown in the cut because you run out of time. There's only so much time. Is this something that you can talk about in terms of how does it feel like to build to like a specification? And then the world is watching it and they don't know what those specifications are and what you're being judged against. What does that feel like?
Okay, so in episode 1, we built, this spaceship with these big orange upswept wings, and there's some critique that's kind of gone around in the community where people were like, yeah, the spaceship was pretty good, but like they didn't put any story in it. Well, none of that made it into the edit. So there's actually lights inside the spaceship, which for some reason they didn't turn on for the beauties, and inside my brother and I are both working out, which is something we do a lot, and there's also a drop pod in the back of the spaceship. We're doing a medical drop to a planet in need. So all of those story elements were actually incorporated into the build, but then in the edit, they just cut all of it out. So if you're seeing it as a viewer, you're like, they didn't really tell any story in there, and you're like, well, we did, we just didn't get to show any of it. So that's definitely, I think, an aspect you feel as a contestant where you're like, okay, there was a lot more that we did here, it just didn't end up in the edit, and the edit is absolutely going to determine how everybody else views what you just built. So,
I mean, how many cameras on set? How many hours of footage that they have?
There's like 32 cameras on set, tons of footage, but even on like all of that, like going on the spaceship build, all of those ships had interiors, and barely any of the interiors are shown on air.
I had all my family there.
Yeah, so did I. Like she had all her family, I had my family. A lot of time went into that, and it didn't come across on TV, right? The other thing is like you're building all of these challenges to someone else's specifications, and they're judging you in a lot rides on that, right? We're all used to building what we want for our own purposes, or sometimes even if you build like a commission to sell a piece to a museum or for an art gallery or something like that, if it's not to their exact specifications, they're still probably going to give you the money because you have a nice art piece. Whereas here, if it's not the best thing, they're going to send somebody home.
Let's talk about that. You're all standing there, you get called down, you find out somebody's leaving where you think that maybe somebody won't the first episode. You're standing there on the stage. Dave, there was a shot of you like almost weeping. I don't know if that was for the camera.
No, I was weeping. I was bawling.
So,
There was no almost.
what was that like? What does that feel like?
So, again, you've seen us all. We're a little cliquish because we're family. We're through essentially Lego boot camp together. We're all very tight. Even those folks who went home the first day, it was really hard losing people that are as close as family members. And then at the same time, like you have this huge amount of stress for that first day building. That I thought I was going home. Right? Like we all thought we were going home that first episode.
Did anyone read Liz's article? Anybody? If you haven't, you should, because she does a really good job of painting a portrait of how close we got.
I'm going to take this for a second. We work in a hospital, work with a lot of COVID patients, deal with a lot of kind of issues over the past 2 years. So to come into a group that was so welcoming and got along, we all want to do the same thing and all of us to succeed, it was really sad to lose any person from that group at any point in the competition, just because we had been through all this. So it restored faith in my humanity, because all these different ethnicities and ages and variety of life, they all come together and like in much larger community there. You're all so welcoming, and it's just wonderful to be a part of. And I can't thank you enough for letting me do it, because I don't know what I'm doing up here.
So let's talk about that. You went from strangers to each other, maybe a couple of you knew each other beforehand, to this, which I think we can palpably feel that you feel like a family. Like this feels like a family reunion. How did you get from point A to B? Is it just that you went to war together?
So my partner and I, being in the fire service, we're big into the family dynamic. So the people we work with, we sometimes spend a huge amount of time with. So for us, it was really important to hammer in that family concept because we were spending all this time together. After the first week, we had familiarized with the process and got to know each other. And one thing that we like to do in the fire service is have big meals. Our fire hall culture is based off of the world's problems being solved in the kitchen. So we made a point of ordering in a ton of barbecue style food. They had some barbecues in the courtyard, and we just put on a big party.
Ed started a big fire.
Did you hear about that in the news? How big could it have been? It wasn't that big. You had trained professionals on site. It was perfectly fine.
There's pictures in the article.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Everyone else was worried. We weren't.
But that's
Anyways,
first
but that was the first Saturday. That was after week one, and that was that cohesion of the family dynamic that we had.
before the elimination.
Yeah, that was before eliminations. Sure. Fire. It bonds.
Okay, I've never been outside of Mexico until 6 years ago. So for me, being part of this and getting to know people from all over America is like, this couldn't be possible without Lego. So it's just like Lego is a universal language, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter if you don't speak English or what language you speak. Like you go, you play together and there's Lego and you can understand each other. So that, like for me, that just being able to reach way more than my little bubble was, is like priceless. Like
That's awesome to hear.
So I'm active duty military in the Coast Guard, and these guys aren't wrong when they say that there are elements that resemble boot camp in the way that you go through Lego Masters, right? It's like when you take metal and you put it under heat and stress, then it becomes stronger. And so the same thing happened here. All these people who are otherwise strangers to each other by and large, you're putting them through the same difficult, stressful, pressure-oriented experience, and that makes you stronger. And there's a bonding process that exists. And so I think that was a really important element of the show, which Lego is a great word picture for, because what we do is we take individual elements and we stick them together, and then they make a greater whole.
Now, it's not only just this family, but you have an extended family around the world, and of other seasons of of the North American show as well. Can you talk about your extended family? How have they supported you, and what do you even communicate with them throughout the week?
So, our very first get together after filming was wrapped was June, and it was Chicago, Brick World. And I wasn't planning on going, but when I found out some of my family was going, I'm like, the heck with it, I'm going. And we met most of season 2 there. And I had met a few last year, but I mean, seeing them and them bringing us into their family, and they're like, you're one of us now. And then season 1, I mean, you're sitting right here, Corey. They have adopted us into this amazing worldwide Lego family, and we can commiserate with each other. We can talk about this shared experience. It is like Lego camp of life, and now we have this, and we have friends forever that I can just text them now and be like, hey, do you want to get together? Are you going to be in my area? And we can support each other through Lego, and this is such an amazing experience.
I remember joking that we were all going to go on vacation together for Christmas. And someone, not a cast member from the show, said, listen, I've done shows before. You guys are all in this setting and you really get along so well, but 6 weeks from now, none of you guys are going to be talking. Or you might talk at conventions, you might run into each other, and maybe after the show's on, you might talk. We all talk every single day. Every day. And not everybody is in on the group chat every day, but we met your 24 best friends, and we all just like loved each other from like I think 5 days in. We gotta call Will and tell him that we're all still talking. Can someone send Will this picture, please? We're here. We talk every day. And we joke about how many tears you see, but I think it's just because we all loved each other so much from the get-go. Yeah. Like when Greg says sappy stuff, I'm gonna choke up. We did cry a lot, though. Did anyone not cry? I don't have a soul. That might be true. You cried.
You'll have to wait.
Well, we actually are down to just our few last moments. We just want to thank you for your time, for being here, for becoming part of the BrickCon family as well. Thank you for coming here and having a good time. I'd leave you with one last question is again, you're talking to AFOLs here who are potential future contestants. Do any of you have any key pieces of advice for anybody who might be considering being on the show, whether it be building techniques to learn or maybe it's don't do it if you're not this kind of person? What is your last parting words of wisdom for us?
Personality goes a long way.
And I'll say too, just try. It's okay to try. You know, even if you don't make it as far as you think that you would or could or should, just try. You know, this is one of the biggest adventures that we went on, and I think we went into it just saying we're just gonna go and do our best with whatever we're asked to do, and it was amazing, and I would definitely do it over and over again if asked. So.
I'm gonna add, knowing how your partner, your teammate works under pressure and being able to balance them out. So having obviously lots of common ground. Someone can take lead if someone can follow, so.
Jumping off of what Aziza said about just trying, my mom and I were first in the application process for season 1. I was 16 at the time, and they ended up not going with minors, but they didn't tell us. They just, stopped responding, ghosted us, and we didn't think about the show really. I mean, we watched season 2, but we didn't consider applying or anything. And then they reached out for season 3, and they were like, "We think you're 18 now." So you never know what will come of something from years before that seems like just a memory.
I did not expect filming to be so difficult. I think that the building and the working with your teammate under stress is already going to be tough. But just know if you're going to do it, they're very long days, and it's a lot of work. It's hard. So when you factor that into the other part of the stress, there are times when everybody here had times when we were at a breaking point. I can guarantee you that. But if you're there with somebody that's supporting you, you get through it. So it was tough, but it was fun. I can't say I would do anything else. This was a blast.
Sure. As a former homeschool counselor to a senior applying to colleges, I have the perspective of like, you may be the best builder. You may be the best builder in your lug, in your state, at your convention. You may be recognized as that, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make it on the show, and to not take that personally, because this is a show about a wonderfully diverse, beautiful swath of North Americans coming together to share their Lego passion and build. What I'm trying to say is, Princeton may accept someone who you didn't think they would accept, but they're a fabulous oboist, and they have an opening for an oboist. They need that. This show is so amazing in part because of this beautiful swath of North Americans that you have here, right? We each bring something. You have so many diverse relationships shown here. We're not all brother teams, right? So just keep that in mind. Like, if you're...
That's a slight dig. No big deal.
Oh, no. No. Oh.
Right there, Emily.
No, he's a brother team, too. No. Oh, no. No, my point is, like, Lego wants to show the world this is for everyone. Like, when you say, are you a hardcore AFOL? I'm like, I've been an AFOL for years without realizing it because I wasn't plugged into the community. I coached FLL for 4 years. But I wasn't part of a lug. We weren't attending conventions yet. I didn't understand the whole breadth of the Lego world, right? So just kind of a loving reminder that, like, keep building, keep enjoying what you're doing, go for it, and if the doors are gonna open, that's great. Then you'll get to be part of a season 4 that is a beautiful collection of human beings that you'll get to know, and you'll get to do crazy things with Lego and have fun. But if not, keep doing it at home and keep sharing it in your conventions, your lugs, your online presence, whatever it is.
Well, on that note, thank you for being here at BrickCon. We hope you come back and come back to this extended family now. And for all the other questions that you have, we have one standard answer, and it's you'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, everyone.